Good morning, everybody. Today is Thursday, January 5th, 2023. Welcome to those members participating in person at SCAG, Los Angeles office. I also would like to ask members who are calling in by phone to identify themselves prior to calling the meeting to order. Ruben, do we have anybody?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. I'm unaware of anyone who's called. I'll double check with the clerk to see if they see any phone numbers in the queue.
No phone numbers?
Great,
Thank you so much. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. If we can please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Mr. McKellen?
Thank you. Please join me as we salute the flag of our republic. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. We do have a quorum. We are holding this meeting in a hybrid manner. Before I go here, Kurt, would you mind saying a few words on this? I'm just teasing, but thank you. I know you would. Thank you, sir. We're holding the meeting in a hybrid manner, both in person and remotely by telephonic and video conference, in compliance with the Brown Act Amendment relating to telephonic and video conference meetings and the existing declared state of emergency and recommendation of the local Public Health Department to socially distance. While some of our Transportation Committee members are participating in person at SCAG office, other committee members are participating by telephonic or phone conference. We are pleased to announce that SCAG offices are now open for members of the public to attend and participate in person. Since this is a hybrid meeting, members of the public still have the option to attend by telephone or video conference. I'll provide some instructions for providing public comments momentarily. Before I open up the public comment period for matters that are not on the agenda, here are some housekeeping items. Number one, detailed instructions on how to attend the meeting in person, by computer, or by phone have been provided in advance and are also included in the agenda packet. Does somebody want to say something? Okay, moving to number two. For those who have attended the meeting by phone, please press *6 to mute and unmute your phone. If you wish to raise your hands to be recognized to speak, please press *9. And also, to reduce background noise, please ensure that your microphone is mute when not in use. Public comment period. I will now open public comment period in the meeting. Members of the public should note that there are three ways to provide comments and be heard. First, you have the option but are not required to submit written comments by email, which is tcpubliccomment@scag.ca.gov. Written comments received after 5 p.m. on Wednesday, January 5th, 2023 will be announced and included as part of the official record of the meeting. Staff, have we received any written public comments?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. We have received no written comments either before or after yesterday's deadline.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Secondly, you will remotely address the Transportation Committee to real time and will be allowed a total of 3 minutes to speak on any item on the agenda. If you desire to speak during the public comment period on this item listed on the agenda, please wait for the chair to call the item. When the item is called, use the raised hand function, so your computer or *9 by phone, and wait for SCAG staff to announce your name and phone number. Thirdly, you may verbally address the Transportation Committee in person and will be allowed a total of 3 minutes to speak on all items on the agenda. If you desire to speak in person, you are invited but not required to fill out a present public comment card to the clerk of the board prior to speaking. For purpose of providing public comments for items listed on the consent calendar, please indicate that you wish to speak when the consent calendar is called. Items listed on the consent calendar will be acted upon with one motion, and there will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the legislative body so requests, in which event this item will be considered separately. This is the time for members of the public to offer comments for matters that are within the SCAG jurisdiction but are not limited on the agenda. If you would like to speak on this item, please wait for that time to be called. Do we have any members of the public with raised hands?
No hands are raised, Chair.
Okay. I will now close the public comment for matters not listed on the agenda. On the agenda, Mr. Rodriguez, is there anything we need to make adjustments?
No, sir.
Thank you, sir. Like that. I would like to remind everyone, first of all, to unmute your phone before speaking and state your name during the deliberation and whatever making a motion or offering a second. And for those who have joined by phone, please press *6 to mute and unmute your phone. Staff report now. I'm going to Mr. Dave Salgado.
Thank you, Chairman. A couple items I'd like to report briefly, and then I'll pass it on to Deputy Director Annie Nam to cover another additional item. In July 2022, SCAG's Regional Council approved the Connect SoCal Policy Development Framework, which outlined the creation of 3 new subcommittees that would tackle emerging issues for Connect SoCal 2024. The 3 subcommittees comprised of members from each county are the Next Generation Infrastructure Committee, Resilience and Conservation Committee, Racial Equity, and the Racial Equity and Regional Planning Committee. They have each met 3 times since September. The Resilience and Conservation and Racial Equity and Regional Planning meetings will conclude later this month, and the Next Generation Infrastructure Subcommittee will conclude with a final meeting in February. The culmination of the subcommittee's discussions will be a white paper and draft recommendations. The recommendations on how to address these emerging issues within Connect SoCal 2024 will be shared at a joint policy committee meeting in March. We wanted to make sure that we provided that information. Additionally, please keep an eye out for election notices as we work with SCAG's sub-regional organizations, which are councils of governments, to fill vacancies on the regional council and policy committees created by the November 2022 election. And lastly, SCAG is also co-sponsoring or attending a host of partner events where members are invited. 2 of those events, we have the South Coast Air Quality Management District Clean Air Awards, Friday, January 6th at 11:30 a.m. and the State of the Port of Los Angeles, Thursday, January 19th at 11:30 a.m. If any members had interest in attending, please reach out. We can provide information, and I'll pass it on to Deputy Director Annie Nam.
Good morning. Thank you. I just wanted to briefly highlight our Transportation Committee agenda outlook, which is agenda item number 4 under the receive and file. I've presented this before. Moving forward, we'll simply include it as a receive and file item. It's been updated to reflect items covered to date, any modifications, as well as new items for upcoming meetings through June 2023. I should also note that in addition to the subcommittee meetings that David referenced, these agenda outlooks for the TC is tracked to when the draft 2024 Connect SoCal will be published, ensuring that we'll address various strategy and policy recommendations in the development of Connect SoCal. And I just wanted to state that. Thank you.
Annie, thank you so much. At this time, I'm going to the consent calendar. Any member of the public wishing to comment on the public consent calendar? Okay. Anybody wish to pull any items on the consent calendar? Is anybody? Okay. At this time, if I could have a
Mr. Chair, move.
Second by City of Banning, Colleen Wallace.
We're going to action items. I'm a little rusty, huh? At this time, call for a vote. All in favor? Boy, I'm really rusty.
Aye.
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 Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Excuse me, members.
Sorry, guys. I made a mistake. It's going to be a roll call. Mr. Rodriguez, go ahead. Roll call, please.
Catherine Barger. Catherine Barger, Liz Becerra,
Aye.
Russell Betts,
Aye.
Art Brown,
Aye.
Ross Chun,
Aye.
Denise Diaz, Andrew Doe,
Aye.
Daryl Doris, Daryl Doris,
Aye.
I see. John Dutre,
Aye.
James Gaisley,
Aye.
Jason Gibbs,
Aye.
Brian Goodell,
Aye.
Kurt Hagman, Ray Hamada,
Aye.
Jan Harnick. Jan Harnick. Laura Hernandez. Laura Hernandez. Heather Hutt. Heather Hutt. Mike Judge.
Yes.
Trish Kelly.
Yes.
Paul Krikorian. Linda Krupa.
Yes.
Richard Loa.
Yes.
Clint Lorimore.
Aye.
Steve Manos. Steve Manos. Ray Marquez.
Yes.
Larry McCallan.
Yes.
Marsha McLean.
Yes.
Dennis Michael.
Yes.
Carol Moore.
Aye.
Ara Najarian.
Yes.
Maria Nava Froelich.
Yes.
Frank Navarro.
Yes. Excuse me. Yes.
John Primmett. John Primmett. Ed Reese. Ed Reese.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Received for Reese. Crystal Ruiz. Ali Saleh.
Yes.
Tim Sandoval.
Yes.
Zach Schwank.
Yes.
Marty Siminoff.
Yes.
Jeremy Smith.
Aye.
Ward Smith.
Aye.
Jose Luis Salache.
Yes.
Hilda Solis. Hilda Solis. Wes Speak.
Aye.
Thank you. Karen Spiegel.
Yes, with abstention on item 1.
Thank you. Cynthia Sternquist. Cynthia Thank you. Received for Sternquist. Steve Ty. Michael Vargas.
Yes.
Scott Boyts. Scott Boyts. Donald Wagner.
Aye.
Thank you. Received for Wagner. Colleen Wallace.
Yes.
Alan Wapner.
Yes.
Alicia Weintraub. Alicia Weintraub. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The motion passes 36 in favor and 0 against with 1 abstention on item 1.
Mr. Rodriguez, thank you so much. Hey, before I start, when I want to start, I just wanted to wish everybody happy seasons, Christmas and Happy New Year. I didn't get to say that before we started. I'm a little rusty, so I do apologize. And we're going to move forward real fast now. Action item number 11, 2023 Go Human Community Hub Program Guidelines. And Madam Lena Borja is the presenter.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for the time. Yes, my name is Alina Borja, and I'm a community engagement specialist at SCAG. And today I'm here seeking approval for the guidelines of the 2023 Go Human Community Hubs program. Next slide, please. To that.
Can you hold on for a second?
Yeah, of course.
The slides weren't coming through. They're now coming through. So thank you. Continue.
Okay, great. Yeah, to that end, I will be providing information about the Community Hubs program. I will be going through program background, goals, potential project types that might be funded through this grant opportunity, application and selection criteria for this opportunity, and a timeline. Next slide, please. SCAG launched its community engagement program and traffic safety program, Go Human, in 2015 to reduce traffic collisions and encourage people to walk and bike more. According to our traffic safety data, 1,450 people die every year from traffic collisions, 5,500 sustain serious injuries, and 124,000 sustain injuries from traffic collisions. People who walk and bike make up 3% of all daily trips, but 32% of fatalities from traffic collisions. With support from the California Office of Traffic Safety, OTS, SCAG has implemented 4 rounds of grant funding opportunities since 2018, distributing more than $893,000 to 106 traffic safety projects throughout the region. SCAG seeks to offer a 5th round of funding through local communities through the 2023 Go Human Community Hubs program. Next slide, please. The 2023 Go Human Community Hubs program is a funding opportunity for community organizations to implement traffic safety strategies through community gathering and resource sites. Eligible applicants for this program will include community-based organizations, nonprofits, and social enterprises. The maximum funding amount for this opportunity will be $40,000, and we anticipate awarding 10 projects. Next slide, please. The goals for this program will include leveraging new or existing community gathering and resource sites to implement traffic safety strategies that will include, but are not limited to, messaging, education, engagement activities, leadership development, community assessment, or resource distribution. Community hubs may include a physical or digital space or format. A hub will co-locate and bring together multiple resources for easier access by community members. And the idea here is to meet the traffic safety needs of communities in a holistic manner, understanding that traffic safety issues and solutions do not occur in a vacuum. Next slide, please. So potential project types for this opportunity will include, but are not limited to, the co-locating of traffic safety resources for distribution, such as distributing helmets at a community gathering site, such as a park or library, community bicycle rides and walk audits, the design and development of public art or signage, and open streets events and temporary demonstrations. Next slide, please. Potential project types also include leadership and capacity building programs, storytelling and oral histories and oral futures, or film development, virtual information or media hubs, and safety cohort planning teams. Next slide, please. The application and the application selection criteria will include the following 4 categories: impact, engagement, feasibility, and cost effectiveness. Project proposals will be evaluated based on this criteria. Next slide, please. The timeline for this project will include the launch for the call for applications, which is anticipated to open in February of 2023 or in spring of 2023. The call for applications will close, and SCAG staff will review and score proposals. Then notice of conditional award will be issued. Scope refinement process will occur, and the project implementation period for the awarded projects will occur between April or spring of 2023 through August of 2023. And this timeline is pending approval and the notice to proceed with a consultant contract. Next slide, please. For more information on Go Human programs, you can always visit the SCAG website, or please feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is included here and in the agenda packet. Thank you.
Excuse me, before I go to the TC committee, do we have any public comments on this item? No hands are raised, okay. TC members, any questions or comments? I see none. Good. Could I have a motion and a second, please? Hagman, motion. Second.
Second. Councilwoman Becerra, City of Victorville.
Thank you so much. So I have a motion and a second. You copy that, Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Call for vote, please.
Catherine Barger, Elizabeth Becerra,
Aye.
Russell Betts,
Aye.
Art Brown,
Aye.
Ross Chun,
Aye.
Denise Diaz, Andrew Doe,
Aye.
Daryl Doris,
Aye.
John Dutray,
Yes.
James Gaisley,
Aye.
Jason Gibbs,
Aye.
Ryan Goodell.
Aye.
Thank you. Received. Kurt Hagman, Ray Hamada,
Aye.
Jan Harnick, Laura Hernandez,
Aye.
Heather Hutt, Mike Judge,
Yes.
Trish Kelly,
Yes.
Paul Krikorian, Linda Krupa,
Yes.
Richard Loa,
Yes.
Clint Lorimore,
Aye.
you, Steve Manos, Ray Marquez,
Yes.
Larry McCowan,
Yes.
Marcia McLean.
Yes.
Thank you. Dennis Michael,
Yes.
Carol Moore,
Aye.
Ara Najarian,
Yes.
Maria Nava Froelich.
Aye.
Thank you. Frank Navarro,
Yes.
John Primmett, Ed Reese.
Yes.
Thank you. Received for Reese. Crystal Ruiz, Ali Saleh, Tim Sandoval.
Sandoval, yes.
Thank you. Zach Schwank,
Yes.
Marty Siminoff,
Yes.
Jeremy Smith,
Aye.
Ward Smith,
Aye.
Jose Luis Salache, Hilda Solis, Wes Speak.
Aye.
Thank you. Karen Spiegel,
Aye.
Cynthia Sternquist,
Aye.
Steve Ty, Michael Vargas,
Yes.
Scott Voits, Donald Wagner.
Aye.
Thank you. Colleen Wallace,
Yes.
Alan Walkner,
Yes.
Alicia Weintraub. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The motion
Sorry,
passes.
Solache, yes too. I'm sorry about that. Solache.
Thank you. Received.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you.
At this time, we're going to move to item number 12. And before I get there, I'm going to go to the attorney. Mr. Duran, is there anything you have to say on this item?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, members of the Transportation Committee. I just wanted to point out that the recommended action for this item includes both the recommendation from the Transportation Committee that the Regional Council approve and adopt the plan, and also as reflected on page 160 of your agenda packet, that the TC directs staff to release the draft digital action plan for a 30-day public review and comment period. Following today's recommendation by the Transportation Commission, the plan would not proceed to the Regional Council for its action until the public comment process is completed. Public comment would be reviewed by staff and reported to the RC as a part of that presentation. Just wanted to clarify that for the record. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Duran, thank you so much. So item number 12, SCAG Draft Digital Action Plan. Do we have any public comments on this item? I see nobody here. The presenter on this is Mr. Roland Oak. Mr. Oak? There.
Apologies
Can you
for
please
that.
unmute yourself?
Yeah. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
All right. Great. So good afternoon, everybody. Morning, everybody. My name is Roland Oak. I am the planning supervisor and broadband lead for SCAG's broadband program, and I'll provide an overview of SCAG's digital action plan. So before diving into the plan itself, I'd like to give a brief overview on the digital divide. So as we're all aware, broadband provides tremendous benefits to society. For example, it allows people with disabilities to participate in societal functions. For example, join support groups, access to education, online shopping, banking, and so forth. People can work from home or run a business, thereby fostering economic growth. People have access to online pharmacy services, online doctor visits, or therapy. It allows people to have access to government hearings or meetings such as the TC or other policy committees or RC via hybrid participation. Broadband can also be considered a green strategy as it has the potential to reduce VMT through the reduction of work commutes or other online services. So what is the digital divide? The simple definition is the gap between those with internet access and those without it. But in reality, there's not just one digital divide, there are multiple digital divides. So here are the three main pillars or core factors or buckets which contribute to the digital divide. Availability, a lack of infrastructure or proper service. So that means no service or slow service. Affordability, a lack of affordable subscription rates or devices. And literacy, a lack of understanding or knowledge to participate in digital activities. So for example, the picture on the right shows that when factoring broadband subscription, purchase of a computer every 4 or 5 years, a smartphone, cell phone services, the average consumer can spend approximately $25,000 over a 10-year period. It's important to note that this does not account for devices breaking down, devices lost, if you happen to have teenage children who are clumsy or forgetful, insurance rates, and assumes that everything lasts for the time advertised, and assumes that forced obsolescence will not occur within that time period. Further, these are average rates. So for smartphones, the cost can be much lower, but as we've seen with Samsung or Apple products, the cost is typically higher than the $400 shown. Finally, these are pre-inflation and supply chain issue numbers. So the updated cost has yet to be determined as costs are constantly in flux due to geopolitical supply chain or economic conditions. But while not recorded, we've all experienced price hikes when paying for bills or buying a new device. So when factoring for children or a partner, you can see how this is extremely difficult for low-income households to afford, thereby blocking them from access to the internet. Within the region, approximately 10% of residents do not have access to broadband. In a nutshell, the Black, Native American, Indigenous, and Latino populace do not have perform the worst and do not have access to broadband or a computer. Further, 20% of seniors age 65 and over do not have access to broadband, and 12% do not own a computer. And 70% of those without internet or computer are concentrated within low-income households. And it's important to note that these are regional average figures. Within your local jurisdictions, the numbers might be better or much worse. So there are a lot of societal impacts when it comes to digital divide. So approximately 16% of Americans are not fully digital literate, and about 60% of adults 45 and over are not fully digitally competent, meaning they have some literacy, but not at the level they'd like to perform work functions. People who face challenges tend to be one or a combination of the following demographics: senior, less educated, low income of Black or Latino descent, and or foreign-born citizens who face language barriers. We know that literacy provides access to entertainment, health, and social services, but digital literacy can do other things. For example, protect one from crime. For example, senior citizens and people in minority communities are also the most common targets for online scams such as phishing or identity theft. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we've experienced something called the homework gap, in which children of low-income households had issues connecting with school. This can prevent social mobility when it comes to access to higher education, such as universities or colleges, or even advanced skilled trade schools. And the divide it's not a new thing. It's existed since the 90s, and the effect is already starting to show amongst young adults. According to some studies, Black and Latino communities are 10 years behind white and Asian communities with respect to digital skills. In a study done by Deutsche Bank, approximately 60% of Latino population and 70% of the Black population cite being digitally illiterate or unconfident, thereby being unprepared for jobs which require digital skills. If you combine that with the rapid digitization of the US economy, what we're going to see, or we might see, is large numbers of the Black and Latino populations being disqualified or underprepared for 86% of the jobs by 2045. Now, 86% seems like a lot, but there's a reason why. As digital skills are no longer just for the white collar workforce, finance, coding, engineering, and so forth. Small business owners will need to figure out how to use these services like Venmo, or maybe in the future, figure out a way to accept cryptocurrency, or simple things like advertising on Yelp or Google ad services. Blue collar work will require digital skills as well, such as the installation of IT conduits, similar to what an electrician would do. In addition, our car maintenance and repair services industry is changing as well with upcoming EVs. There's an ongoing joke within the tech and car communities that cars are essentially becoming iPhones with 4 wheels. While it's a joke, they're not necessarily wrong, as we've seen with cars like Teslas, in which everything ranging from the air conditioning unit or control of the chassis system is integrated into the central console unit, i.e. that big tablet in front of the cabinet. So that requires a lot of digital skills for workers to maintain. To solve the digital divide, we have had some work efforts. So I'll briefly run through some of the stuff we've been doing. In February of 2021, our RC approved and adopted a resolution which pledges the agency to assist in bridging the digital divide. The resolution directs staff to do the following: develop a digital action plan, collect and invest in broadband data and conduct analysis, initiate technical studies as it relates to broadband, and find ways to incorporate broadband-based studies into SCAG's programs. While staff has worked on developing the plan, we've taken a proactive approach and worked on several projects which advance the directives of the resolution. This slide shows some, but not all of SCAG's projects that we've done. First, we recently joined SANDAG, our sister agency, to co-develop and launch what we're calling a Request for Qualifications Prospective Partnerships process, or RFQPP for short. This allows us to pursue partnerships across all sectors to apply for state and federal grant funding for broadband projects, being last mile services or other initiatives like digital equity. We all recently passed a resolution which directs staff to pursue partnerships and assist in promoting the Affordable Connectivity Program, ACP for short, which provides qualified households $30 a month for broadband subscriptions and a one-time cash injections of $100 for digital devices. We concluded a broadband VMT report, which found that telework had the potential to reduce GHG emissions. We recently kicked off a permit streamlining project, which seeks to develop a universal and streamlined permit for expedite broadband projects. And we're currently trying to better integrate broadband or telework literature or data to bolster our existing strategies and modeling efforts for Connect SoCal. This leads us to the digital action plan. Now, many action plans tend to provide a brief overview of the state of the region and dive straight into the proposed actions the agency will undertake to solve a given problem. However, broadband is new to many of our stakeholders, and upon listening to conversations with member jurisdiction staff, elected officials, other partners, it was apparent that everyone's, including SCAG's, familiarity of broadband and the digital divide was a bit lacking. So we decided to take a more robust approach through the development of an all-in-one plan, which provides an overview of what broadband infrastructure is and how it's developed, what the digital divide is and its causes, a gap assessment of both the state and the region, work efforts not only from SCAG, but from the federal, state, and local governments, private sector, nonprofit, and so forth, and finally, a set of proposed actions and deliverables SCAG will undertake to bridge the digital divide. To set the foundation of the plan, we developed a vision statement. The statement says that we envision an equitable region that fosters accessibility and adoption of affordable high-speed broadband and digital devices for its residents. To reach this vision, we developed 4 core goals. They are accessibility and affordability. Every household in the region should have access to affordable, high-speed broadband services and high-quality devices. Adoption, all residents should have the confidence and skills to participate in digital activities. Consensus, build partnerships and reach consensus that high-quality and affordable broadband is an essential service to everyone and provides economic, environmental, and safety benefits. And finally, planning, develop broadband technical studies and tools which provide value to the region. For us to reach and support these goals, we've developed 4 core strategies, also known as SCAG strategies. First being seek and secure. SCAG will find funding for our region for broadband deployment and other initiatives. Then we have coordinate and collaborate. SCAG will coordinate and build partnerships with all the major players to advance broadband projects in a collective manner. Next is advocate and assist. SCAG will advocate for those who are underserved and unserved and advocate for our fair share in funding. Finally, we have gather and gain. SCAG will gather data and gain knowledge through technical studies and other exercises. Further, these are our guiding principles, which assist in guiding us through the digital action plan. In the interest of saving time, I won't go through all of them, but they include principles such as breaking down barriers which inhibit the deployment of broadband infrastructure, determining funding opportunities and potential partnerships, planning or advocating for networks which are scalable, sustainable, and accommodate future needs, and developing solutions which can be quickly implemented in an efficient manner. The digital action plan lays out a set of deliverables which we'd like to pursue. Proposed deliverables are contingent upon funding approved, available, or awarded, such as approval from the feds or the state, or grants awarded. Some of the examples of deliverables laid out in the plan include the purchasing of data and conducting a deep dive analysis via mapping, the formation of partnerships, working groups, and legislative advocacy for the region's fair share of investments, the development of best management practices for implementation, or digital literacy guides for local jurisdictions. We want to work with our committees and board members to develop regional policy and integration into current and future Connect SoCal plans. And most importantly, securing grant funding for local jurisdictions, partners, or the agency itself to assist in the implementation of broadband infrastructure, advance adoption rates, and literacy rates. I'd like to also focus on deliverables beyond the digital divide. Now, many have asked why an MPO or any transportation agency involved in broadband. Well, broadband goes beyond bridging the digital divide. Just like water and electricity, broadband should be carefully evaluated as a utility, as just about everything is being integrated with broadband or communication-based capabilities today. Our reliance in participating in the digital landscape will continue to grow, and the pandemic has changed the way we live, and our lives will continue to change with the increased use in digital services. This change in behavior will require a different approach in our plan for how we plan for our cities, and it's important to do so in a quick manner as technology can be disruptive and quick to adoption. So it's important that we integrate the evaluation of broadband into traditional planning programs. So here are some of the examples of what we'd possibly like to do in the near-term future. So the first example would be a smart cities initiative. Broadband infrastructure and adoption is a necessary step in making our cities smart. Smart cities use technologies to make its programs and systems more responsive and communicate efficiency with other related systems. To fully realize the potential of smart city programs, broadband planning must serve as a foundation for smart planning. So SCAG can potentially develop a regional smart cities visual plan, or dive deeper into other initiatives like evaluating smart energy grids, traffic synchronization projects, expanding our ITS or intelligent transportation systems programs, and others. We could perhaps bolster our goods movement or transportation safety programs, as both transportation safety and goods movement will also be reliant on broadband infrastructure. An example of this is the utilization of what people call vehicles to everything technology, or V2X systems. V2X allows for vehicles or other entities, people, safety systems, signals, and others to communicate with each other. and will require enhanced wireless towers. So we're talking about 5G plus technologies. This can have a profound effect on the transportation system, including the goods movement system, as it'll allow for efficient and safer travel. So for example, the US National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA for short, estimates a minimum of a 13% reduction in traffic accidents if a V2X system were implemented. In terms of hard numbers, that's approximately 439,000 fewer crashes per year. SCAG could also potentially evaluate the potential shift in transportation investments required. As mentioned, we recently did a broadband VMT report, which found that work commutes decreased since the COVID-19 pandemic occurred. While there has been a decrease, other literature review from academia and others suggest that while work trips have decreased, there is a shift in travel behavior. In a nutshell, commutes to work using highways have decreased, but travel trips to run things like chores using local roads may have increased. So this can result in less highway traffic, but more local roadway traffic. This has major implications to local jurisdictions, as an increase in local roadway traffic can result in accelerated rate of roadway erosion. And an analysis of financial investments at the local jurisdictional scale will need to occur to assist in financial planning or general urban planning as a whole to account for these impacts. So with that said, I'd like to talk about next steps. What I just stated concludes the brief overview of the digital action plan. At this time, staff requests that the Transportation Committee authorize the release of the digital action plan for a 30-day review and comment period, which would occur from Jan 5th to February 3rd of 2023. After the comment period ends, staff will revise and refine the plan as needed and develop the final plan, which would be presented to the Transportation Committee and Regional Council on April for approval and adoption. Comments can be submitted to me, Roland Oak, Planning Supervisor, at oak@scag.ca.gov or via phone 213-236-1819. And that concludes my overall presentation, and I'm available to answer any questions or record any comments the committee may have for us. Thank you.
Mr. Oak, thank you. Excellent presentation. At this time, I'd like to go back to the TC members. Any questions or comments at this time? Mr. Hagman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Roland, for your presentation. This subject has been one of my personal interests for many, many years. And I know that you kind of took over for some of the efforts I was working with Steve Pontel and his group. But the bottom line, this looks, and I don't mean to be too critical, this looks like a great college presentation paper, but there's really no specific actionable items besides go after money. And we have some great acronyms like SCAG and bridge divide and stuff, but we need policy change. We need infrastructure identification. We need to prioritize what those infrastructures are. I mean, there's many different ways to attack it, but it's like a shotgun approach for everything, but we don't have a singular direction. And from my experience of dealing with this for the last 5 to 8 years, we get nothing done when that happens. So I think we as a SCAG committee need to focus on a particular priority. When it's legislative change to standardize streamline permits, which we did a resolution, but nothing came from that for the last 2 years besides getting a resolution out. No entities have actually adopted that I'm aware of. When that we forced the telecommunication companies to give us their plans, because I can't even add our resources at the county to update their plans because I don't know where they have wires in the ground. We don't even have the infrastructure layout. So maybe identifying where that infrastructure is and to at least let local governments know where we can put our funding and focus in to help bridge those gaps for infrastructure. The smart city stuff is a great concept, but you have to focus on specifics. What does that mean? We're trying to do that in our county right now with transportation, and we're starting off with a simple thing is synchronize all the street lights with a common system to multiple jurisdictions. But I think if you don't set attainable goals, we'll be discussing this for another 5 years and not really see much of a change besides talking good things about it. I think we all are aware of the need for this now. We're all aware that technology is an integral part of this point going future for any part of our population, of any age group, of any demographic. And we're aware that certain demographics don't have access as well as others. But what are we as a SCAG, as a regional committee, going to be doing specifically this year that we can accomplish to start to get some kind of actionable items out of that. And so, it's a great report to say all the problems, but what are those solutions for those problems? What can we tackle? What can we focus as a council? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hagman. Mr. Oak, just real fast to you. As we move this forward, you will be getting comments right from the public and from different cities. And then at that time, you'll summarize that.
That
And
is
then hopefully,
correct.
okay, thank you. Mr. Manos, can you please, you have a comment?
Yeah, real quick, I would just point out that one of the things that was overlooked in the presentation was broadband access to businesses and commercial industrial areas, as businesses and commercial areas may serve as city centers or as areas that help maybe bring with the cost sharing, bring broadband access or higher speeds out to areas. It may be easier to go ahead and then branch from there to residential areas or areas that may have a harder time, justifying the cost associated with bringing that broadband out. And that's something that maybe is something that may be thoughtful for those that are developing a plan to consider. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Marcia, do you have a comment?
Hi, yes, I do. I'm just wondering, percentages to me don't really tell the true picture. I'm wondering if there's any way to, instead of percentages, you have numbers to tell us out of a population of a certain amount or a certain type, that you can tell us the numbers that are having problems rather than just percentages.
Sure. Yeah. To respond to that, yeah, in the plan we do have hard numbers. So, instead of saying 10%, we should look at it from 1.9 million people within the region. So, yes, absolutely.
Mr. Oak, this is Marquez. Just a quick question pertaining to her question. Can we do a breakdown as far as counties too? To be more specific?
Yes,
in the breakdowns?
In the digital action plan, towards the end in an appendice, county breakdowns are provided.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, those are all the questions at this time. If I could get a motion in a second on this item.
Move City
Thank
of
you, Mr. Brown.
Paris.
Michael second.
Did you get that, Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, sir.
Okay, call for a vote, please.
Catherine Barger. Liz Becerra.
Aye.
Russell Betts.
Aye.
Art Brown.
Aye.
Ross Chun.
Aye.
Denise Diaz. Andrew Doe.
Aye.
Gerald Doris.
Aye.
John Dutray.
Yes.
James Gaisley.
Easily aye.
Jason Gibbs.
Aye.
Brian Goodell.
Aye.
Right. Thank you. Received. Kurt Hagman. Ray Hamada.
Aye.
Jan Harnick. Laura Hernandez.
Aye.
Heather Hutt. Mike Judge. Trish Kelly.
Yes.
Judge, yes.
Paul. Thank you. Received for Judge and Kelly. Paul Krikorian. Linda Krupa.
Yes.
Richard Loa.
Yes.
Clint Lorimore.
Aye.
Steve Manos.
Yes.
Ray Marquez.
Yes.
Larry McCallan.
Yes.
Marcia McLean.
Yes.
Marcia McLean.
Yes.
Mike.
Hi.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, receive for McLean.
Thank you.
Dennis Michael.
Yes.
Carol Moore.
Aye.
Ara Najarian.
Yes.
Maria Nava Froelich.
Aye.
Frank Navarro.
Yes.
John Primmett. John Primmett, Ed Reese.
Yes.
Thank you. Crystal Ruiz,
Aye.
Ali Saleh, Tim Sandoval,
Sandoval, yes.
Zach Schwank,
Yes.
Marty Siminoff. Marty Siminoff, Jeremy Smith.
Yes.
Thank you. Ward Smith,
Yes.
Jose Luis Salache,
Yes.
Hilda Solis. Wes Speak.
Aye.
Thank you. Received. Karen Spiegel,
Yes.
Cynthia Sternquist,
Yes.
Steve Ty, Michael Vargas,
Yes.
Scott Voits, Donald Wagner,
Aye.
Colleen Wallace,
Yes.
Alan Wapner,
Yes.
Alicia Weintraub. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The motion passes 37 in favor and 0 against.
Mr. Rodriguez, thank you so much. We're going into information items. Item number 13, California Integrated Travel Project. Presenter on this is Mr. Philip Law.
Good morning, Chair Marquez and members of the committee. I'm Philip Law, Manager of Mobility Planning and Goods Movement at SCAG. I'll be providing some brief context for our next presentation. Since the adoption of our 2020 Regional Transportation Plan and Sustainable Community Strategy, or Connect SoCal, staff has brought to this committee a number of discussion items regarding transit and rail, such as regular updates on our Mobility as a Service feasibility study, and the SwissCal conference on their integrated public transportation system, which a number of you had participated in. These plans and studies support Connect SoCal implementation, and they also inform our forthcoming Connect SoCal 2024 plan update. And later this meeting, you will receive a staff presentation on our transit and rail approach for the 2024 plan update. Today, we want to bring back to your attention the California Integrated Travel Project, or Cal ITP, which directly relates to our transit and rail planning efforts. Cal ITP is a key state effort to promote and support an integrated transit ecosystem, and we're really fortunate to have with us today Jillian Gillette, who leads Cal ITP, to discuss the project. So I'll turn it over to Jillian. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Philip. And good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity to address you. Again, I'm Jillian Gillette from Caltrans. I run the California Integrated Mobility Program, and my job is to remove barriers between modes and within modes, so to make people's transportation choices easy to achieve. So next slide, please, if I may. Let's begin with a core issue, which is a day in the life of the unbanked. So next slide, please. Meet Jayla. So Jayla is a mother of two, and she's also unbanked. So that means that she doesn't have a bank account, either checking or savings. Every month, Jayla has to rely on cashing checks, her paycheck, and money orders to conduct her payments and basic financial needs. Jayla spends anywhere from $3 to $12 on check cashing services per fees per check, and $1.65 to $2.20 on each money order that she buys. Apart from the cost of these financial alternatives, Jayla has to deal with the massively time-consuming processes in conducting check cashing and money orders, as well as the frustrations of Mrs. Jones, her landlord, who becomes agitated with any delay in Jayla's rent. And so her struggles don't really end there. Jayla needs to carry larger amounts of cash on the days that she has to make payments or get money orders, and therefore she has to be extremely careful as she moves around. At the same time, she's excluded from several activities that require having a bank account in the first place or paying using digital means. For Jayla, even basic tasks can be difficult and time-consuming to complete. Next slide, please. If you could advance the slide. So Jayla isn't alone. JALA is representative of about 25% of the population, which is generally consistent throughout the United States. About 1 in 4 people in California are not fully banked, be they underbanked or unbanked. And that means about 10 million people here in the state of California, and we're talking about 63 million people nationwide. So quickly, the difference between unbanked and underbanked is that an unbanked person literally doesn't have a checking or savings account. An underbanked person, which is a far larger population and skews younger and people of color, they'll have a bank account and they'll have a debit card, but they can't afford to use it because of things like minimum balance requirements or associated overdraft fees that come with going below the minimum balance. And so underbanked people tend to use other financial products, much like JALA does. They'll use money orders or check cashing services in order to make ends meet. So next slide, please. So let's attack the core issue here. This is the real digital divide. I was so delighted to come after Mr. Oak's presentation because we talk a lot about access to broadband, but the real digital divide, or maybe another digital divide, is that while almost everyone has a smartphone, and the more modern code that's being developed in the United States and globally is increasingly for phones and iPads rather than for websites. The real digital divide is that people may have a phone, but they don't have a great digital way to pay. It's not in their phone, or they just simply can't pay digitally. So why is that? The major reason why people stay underbanked is because they can't afford the minimum balance and the fees that come with a minimum balance, and then if they get overdrafted. So that's the main reason for 34% of people don't have a bank account or don't use their bank account because of the costs associated with it. That engenders the second biggest factor, which is that it's caused the banking rules and the banking sort of framework in the United States has caused an enormous distrust of banks because people don't understand the fees and they really get caught when they're in trouble. There's a smaller population that has issues with identity. And then there's sort of the traditional issues with banks that some of us that are older remember. It's gotten better than when we were younger and banks closed on Wednesday afternoons and were closed also on weekends. So next slide, please. However, times have changed. So the minimum balance requirements and overdraft fees and check cashing fees are not required from newer payment issuers like the Cash App, which is product of Square, Venmo, PayPal, and the Discover card. These newer issuers provide almost all of the services of a bank account, but they don't require a minimum balance, and they don't have any of the fees that are associated with a traditional bank account. So this brings us back to transit. How do we get JALA, people like JALA who are unbanked, to become banked? Next slide, please. The answer is transit. Transit is the reason for folks who are under and unbanked to move into the digital economy. Next slide, please. So digital payments allow people to meet basic needs. Financial inclusion means that individuals have access to practical and affordable financial products and services that meet their needs. Transactions, payments, savings, credit, and insurance delivered in a responsible and sustainable way. Next slide, please. Mobility can be the pathway to financial inclusion. Mobility and transit for lower income populations are a toothbrush moment. They do it 1 or 2 times a day. They're low transaction amounts, and transportation itself provides economic access. Next slide, please. So let me make this point again. Let's look at transit riders and the underbanked. These are statistics of the average transit user up against the average underbanked population. 2/3 of transit riders in the United States have an average annual income of $50,000 or less. That is, next slide, please, pretty much the definition of an underbanked person. So transit is the underbanked person in the United States. Transit represents the underbanked person nearly perfectly in the United States. This means that transit operators and folks who regulate transit operators and fund transit operators have an enormous opportunity, and I would say a responsibility, to not only improve their customer experience of transit riders, but also help bring them into make the real equity move, which is to bring them into the financial ecosystem. And by doing so, they can play an active role in reducing systemic racism and poverty. Next slide, please. So here it is again, mobility can be a ride out of poverty, and given the socio-demographic overlap between the underbanked individuals and transit riders, increasing the availability of contactless EMV payments, which are the little cards, we'll get to that in a moment when we pull down the slides, has the potential to increase financial inclusion. Next slide, please. So there you go. This is the digital divide. Transportation, specifically transit, can help bridge the digital divide by making the under and unbanked comfortable with digital payments, by making digital payments available to the transit rider. Next slide, please. So this is the argument of Cal ITP, that financial inclusion can be achieved via mobility payments. As people pay for mobility services, $1.25, $2 at a time, they receive a benefit, which is a ride today. But if we help them get financially included, they'll also receive the benefit of being part of the financial ecosystem. Then we can reward them for making sustainable transportation choices. And in the new economy in which we have payment issuers who are not just looking for a minimum balance to establish your creditworthiness, therefore the customer receives credit and trust from the financial system. And therefore the cycle repeats itself and the customer can access more and more affordable and better financial services. Next slide, please. So let me now shift to how Cal ITP actually works in order to move from theory to practice. So next slide, please. Actually, if you can skip this one slide is out of order. We'll go back. So what is Cal ITP? Cal ITP is a statewide program put together by CalSTA and Caltrans to sort of be the forward engine of new mobility in California. So we focus, after a lot of research, on 4 sort of pillars. One is to introduce open payments, which is retail style payments, the way that we pay for everything else in the universe. Typically we pay with our debit and credit cards. That should be true in the world of transit as well. We also focus on making sure that transit operators can speak on and via Google and Apple Maps using real-time data standards. We're also working on automating the eligibility verification of customers for their discounts so that they don't have to fill out humiliating paperwork agency by agency. And then we're working as the state of California to make sure that every Californian, underbanked Californian, has access to an open payment product that's built for the underbanked. Next slide, please. So the way that we do this is to focus on standards. Nothing is going to work unless everything is interoperable. We've spent an inordinate amount of time and money sort of building silos between each transit agency. And that's not very helpful, specifically for certain pieces like the digital divide. We really need to start thinking in terms of Legos. Every piece of technology that we adopt in transit should be as standardized as possible, particularly regarding payment systems and data technology, so that as the customer moves across California, they can have a similar experience. Next slide, please.
Hold on just a second.
Sure. Sorry?
Who's that?
So next slide. The way that we, show what we mean rather than just planning and talking about what we mean, is we work by doing demonstrations. We know that open payments work because that's how we pay for everything in the United States. So the way that we pay for coffee or pay for the dentist should be the way that we can operate in transit. So next slide, please. Actually, if you could go back 3 slides to the slide from Monterey that I asked you to skip. There we go, perfect, thank you. So this was our first demonstration with Monterey Salinas Transit in Monterey County. This was the very first open payments demonstration in California. So you can see there on the right, that's a point of sale terminal, just like you see at a coffee shop or anywhere else. We strapped those slightly ruggedized so that they can withstand the vibration onto the buses in Monterey. And that allows customers in Monterey Salinas to simply tap their cards or use Apple Pay or Google Pay if they have it. You can see that that's what's going on here. So we worked with the Cash App to advertise the availability of the Cash App in Monterey and Salinas, and customers were offered a discount on the Cash App, which is called a boost. If they paid that way, that proved to be very successful. And then later on, we added on a senior discount so that customers who have, seniors who have a debit or credit card can get their discount on their debit or credit card every time they pay without having to go fill out paperwork at Monterey Salinas Transit. And then finally, all of MST's services are readily visible on Apple and Google Maps. Okay, so now if you can go back to where we were. One more, there we go. So back one. Thank you so much, sorry. So again, here was our payment issuance partner that we brought to Monterey. In this case, the Cash App, which is again a Square product, was interested in doing a demonstration with us. So I'm holding, when we pull down the slides, I can show you a card. I'm actually holding right now a Cash App debit card that you can get issued to you. It doesn't require a social security number to get a Cash App account. Square will issue based on a California state driver's license or ID card. And they offer a feature that allows a customer to translate the cash that they have onto a digital card or a digital account at $1 per transaction. Which is about $4 less than what you see out on the street generally. So from May to August of last year, 30% of the new Cash App customers in Monterey Salinas were directly attributable to this demonstration, meaning that the very first time that the customer ever used their Cash App account was to pay for transit. At the end of that same period, May to August of last year, 93% of the transactions of those customers were not for transit. They were mostly for food and other things, meaning exactly what we hypothesized, that if you can use transit, get somebody to tap for the first time on transit, that then they are comfortable making digital payments, and then they become part of the financial ecosystem, and they will use that method of payment generally. But that's only possible if you have a low-cost financial product and a lower cost transaction, which we have in transit. Next slide, please. Another demonstration that we're doing, because the problem that we have in transit of this enormous cash economy also is emerging in electric vehicles. So already today, we're hearing from advocates and people, all around the state that, great, we're going to have these EV cars, but how am I going to pay to recharge? So we are working with Valley Can, which is a nonprofit up in the valley here, and low-income customers who are work with this nonprofit are being issued open payment accounts, and they get a stipend to recharge on those accounts. And we are working on expanding that pilot to make sure that the money that the customer gets for recharging is in a separate wallet so that the customer, if they want, can just use that card for everything. It's working very well. It's a really easy way for us to distribute benefits. And it's interoperable across all of the EV charging providers because that's the way that EV charging is regulated, unlike in transit. And I'm sure this is technical, so we can talk about it later if you have questions. Next slide, please. So that's how we work. We do demonstrations. We find a private sector partner, an agency, and we bring them together to provide an equitable and low-cost customer experience. So where are we going as a program next? We want to do more and more demonstrations across modes, not just with transit, but also with electric vehicles. Frankly, the problem of the under and unbanked also exists on the roads. You may have noticed that in any kind of road charge or bridge tolls, that the longest lines are always the cash paying lines because the poor people drive as well. And also we're starting to see these problems with micromobility, with e-bikes, bike share, scooters, etc. And then we also want to move on and put enormous pressure on the issuing banks and fintechs to finally serve the under and underbanked customer so that we can have full financial inclusion. And then we really want to work finally, as the network is more and more complete, on introducing loyalty programs and rewards into mobility. Next slide, please. So that's it. Thanks very much.
Thank you for a great presentation. At this time, I'm opening it up for comments or questions to our TC members. Mr. Eggman.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you for the presentation. I'm totally for going to digital banking and all the rest of it. Very much appreciate how we can integrate across the board, regionalize the way we can pay for public transportation. Don't know too many people have electric vehicles and probably don't have a bank account, or I know as a Tesla user myself, going to a charging station, I don't even have to use anything. It just plugs in and knows my car and charges my account I have already on that. But you know, totally see the need for us to maybe take that regional approach to transportation, public transportation, and get it on a digital app, and the great efforts.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's not, again, if I may, just quickly, it's not a digital app. We're not in favor of apps. Apps are sort of papering over the problem. What we want to make sure is that every American, starting with every Californian, has a debit account that they can afford to use to pay for everything, right? Not an app, but an account. It's true that maybe they embed that card in something like Apple Pay, but it's really the core issue is not all Americans have an account, a basic general purpose account that they can use. And as long as we do things like issue the Clipper card in the Bay Area, or the Charlie card in Boston, or the Tap card in LA, and the Oyster card in London, all of these are basically being issued like money, but they're not real money. Instead of issuing all of these things, let's make sure that everybody has in their pockets what everybody on this call already has, which is a debit or credit card that they can use for payment.
Well, thank you very much for the presentation. Truly appreciate that. I don't see any other questions. Mr. West, speak.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Ms. Gillette. That was very enlightening. I did not know the number was 25%. That's shocking, but good to be able to know. I'm curious how many transit agencies now collect data. I'm sorry, have a way of processing cards like that, or because I haven't ridden a bus in quite a while. I do have my electric scooter, but I don't take the bus very often, especially being in the Inland Empire. Not super reliable. But how many transit agencies use something similar to what you showed?
Yeah, so it is the way that this is very common in Europe. In Europe, pretty much everybody is cashless. It's the way that you just pull out your debit or credit card and you pay that way. So London went first. New York City has already gone. And as I said, Monterey Salinas was the first in California. So all 6 of our early transit demonstration partners are already moving in that direction. They're already working through their contracts. And we have about 50 agencies, some of which are outside of California, that are sort of moving through our pipeline. Because one thing that we did was states are able to ease procurement burdens really easily. Like the federal government, instead of having to declare everybody that we're buying something with and how many widgets we're going to buy, we can just say staplers are 50 cents. If you want a 50-cent stapler, come buy it from California. So we did that with open payment products. Any transit agency in the country can buy point-of-sale terminals for transit using the state's contracts, California state's contracts, and the services that go with it. There are about, like I said, 50 agencies that are moving through those contracts, getting technical assistance from Cal ITP, and several of them are from other states. So South Carolina's Coast RTA in Myrtle Beach, which is a relatively small agency, buzzed through our contract in 6 weeks. They went live on a Monday. By Wednesday, 10% of their customers were already paying with debit and credit cards, and within under 10 business days, 15% of their customers were paying that way. You know, there's a huge pent-up demand for paying the way that you pay for everything else. So we think that not only is it something that existing transit riders want, but also it removes the barrier for people like you and me. Most of the transit agencies in the United States today require you, the only way you can pay them is with exact change.
Yeah.
That's a structural barrier. Transit will never work as long as we're basically telling customers that we don't want them because we want them to pay with exact change. That just has to go away.
Great, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaks. Mr. Russell Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for the presentation. It covers a lot of ground. I just wanted to concentrate specifically on bus transportation. I know during the pandemic, Sunline Transit Agency went to 0 fares. That was for reason of limiting exposure. But I know there's transit agencies around the country and a couple in California that are considering going to no fare. Have you looked into those as opposed to, you know, I mean, just doing away with the mess of having to pay it all? Since, you know, ridership pays such a small percentage of the cost of operating the transit service, and collection digs into that even more. Have you considered a push for just no fare transit altogether, which would take care of some of the constituencies that you've addressed here in your presentation?
Yeah, so we're not in favor of no fares, and here's why. So fare-free transit is not good transit. Transit costs something to produce, right? We have to cover those costs. For some agencies, yeah, fare collection doesn't produce enough revenue to cover their overall costs. But I don't know very many transit agencies that will happily give that revenue up because they're always strapped for cash. That's A. There are very few cases that show that free transit increases ridership. I mean, I live in San Francisco, for instance. You could make Muni free, and that's not going to make people use Muni. It basically is free already. Free transit is not quality transit, high quality transit. So there's a lot of issues there to unpack. The other thing is free transit is kind of a chicken populist answer. Let's just make it free. The problem is not the $2 price. The problem is that these customers are under and unbanked. If we make a transit trip free and they get off the bus and they still don't have a digital way to pay for their coffee or their donuts, we're not doing them a real favor. The economy is moving away from cash. Retail is going digital, even for small things like fast food. As long as transit continues to put up gates to preclude its customers from entering the digital economy, we're not really doing them a solid. So free transit kind of sounds okay, and sometimes it may be okay, but it's not the real equity move. The real equity move is making sure that everybody is banked.
Okay, so I understand the the social issues that you're getting into regarding people who don't have bank accounts.
Right.
And I certainly appreciate that and understand that issue. But I'm going to disagree with you that if we're removing barriers on transportation, somebody who doesn't have a bank account getting on a bus and just walking on without having to pull anything out of their wallet, either a debit card or whatever it happens to be, certainly increases transportation. And the conversation here is about transportation and not just the social issues that are involved in this one. So
Well,
thank
that's
you.
right.
Appreciate
But
your
I do think
presentation.
that, thank you very much. I do think that you're right. However, if you put a point of sale terminal, we have contactless devices, right? You can hold up, if you were me, a customer who is banked, who wants to use transit, I can now pay on transit with my watch. I mean, I just hit double buttons, right? And as long as there's a point of sale terminal in each bus, the transaction speeds are almost instantaneous. And the big thing that you lose for a banked customer, if everything is free, is how many passengers do you have? You completely lose the ability to count passengers, which makes it very difficult to plan adequate service. I mean, if we really want to increase ridership, it's not about the price of ridership. I mean, I'm sure dropping the prices of transit are not going to cause you to take transit more. What's going to cause you to take transit more is to have high quality service more frequently in places that you want it. That's the real game as a transit and transportation problem. But we've made that harder to have that discussion by have also splintering it amongst things like fair payment and fair policy and free and all these fair payment systems. We have to get the transit operators out of those structural problems and focus on a high quality service that will attract riders like you.
Mrs. Gillette, thank you so much for those response. I really do appreciate it. Anything else, Mr. Betts? Are you okay, Russell?
I'm good, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to Mr. Manos. Steve?
Hi, just a quick question. What you mentioned 25% of people were either had no bank account or were underbanked. What percentage of the people are actually didn't have a bank account? What's the breakdown of that?
Yeah, so in California, it's closer to 28% of those two populations. So it's about 5% of the population is underbanked. That is unbanked. I'm sorry, the rest of the population is underbanked. So it's really, there's far more underbanked than unbanked.
And what's the definition of underbanked? I'm trying to wrap my head around that.
So it's a great question. And I think this is a real blind spot for those of us that are in transportation policy. An underbanked customer is somebody like my daughter or our kids, right? Think of them that way. They have a debit card because they got a debit card because it's associated with their bank account, right? We help set them up with a bank account. That bank account has a minimum balance requirement. And if your daughter or your son goes below the minimum balance, then the bank will charge them $25 a month, right? And some banks will then also charge your daughter or your son every time that they use their debit or credit card, they'll tack on a fee onto it because the child is below the minimum balance, right?
We're not talking about like a guy with $100 million that doesn't have FDIC insurance covering all those bank accounts. Okay.
So the business of banking is, and this was a mistake that we kind of made for a long time. Payments and banking are separate industries. The banks want your money so they can invest your money. So they'll give you an account, and a payment card comes with the account as sort of an amenity. When I was a kid, the banks used to give us toasters to open bank accounts. Now they'll give you a debit card, but the bank wants you to give them a certain amount of money so they can invest your money to make money. That's their business, right?
Fractional banking, correct.
That's the banker's perspective. That doesn't really solve this other set of problems, which is, well, okay, but everybody needs a payment account, right? So there's a huge population that maybe can afford a bank account because they can borrow, let the bank, but they then can't use the debit card that is associated with it because they might go below their minimum balance. And so what they'll do is they'll do things like they'll open a Venmo account, or they'll take out a certain amount of cash per month that they know they can afford, and then they'll only use that cash in order to keep themselves from going below the minimum balance. They find other ways to protect their minimum balance, and that kind of precludes them from using their debit card. So they're still off, a fair amount of the time in the cash economy. Does that help explain?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much. That helps a lot.
Thank you. And that's why like companies like Square and Venmo and PayPal, who are neobanks, have said, wait a minute, just as we saw, like as Square saw on the merchant side, the small business side, that small businesses were completely being left in the lurch by banks because they couldn't get credit. Square came along and said, okay, we'll give you small amounts of credit, but you have to switch from cash to credit so that we can see your transactions. and help you pay us back the money, right? So Square, and now, the last holdouts, cash only holdouts on the merchant side were basically like dry cleaners and coffee shops, right? And about 10 years ago, all of a sudden every coffee shop had the little Square button, right? That transition needs to happen on the customer side, and transit is the key to doing that.
Thank you so much for that explanation. Carol, if you can keep this short, I appreciate it. Go ahead, Carol.
Thank you. Thank you for the warning. I think there's one thing that's not included in this, and it's a difficult one. I think there is an underground economy that people are being paid cash. So taxes are very high in California. And there's a whole group, and I think this has not been mentioned. I very much appreciate everything you've mentioned, but I do think that's a dynamic that is playing into this.
You're right, I'm sure. I will say that we saw even this shifting, and I'll try to be brief here. For a long time, the taxi industry basically was brought to its knees by thinking that way, right? Taxi drivers would put the bag over the meter and say, no cards, right? Pay in cash. They all wanted cash. Study after study has shown you make more money if you make it easier for the customer to pay. So taxis basically became irrelevant. That's what Uber did. Uber said, hey, the fundamental thing that most people want to do is they want to be able to pay with their debit or credit card. We're going to offer the service that lets people, and people voted with their feet, and people stopped taking taxis. So yes, there are probably people who still believe that, but that's not true. What makes you more money is providing a good service.
Thank you. Thank you, Carol. If anybody does have any questions offline, we do have our contact information, so we can provide that to you. So again, thank you so much, Mrs. Gillette. Appreciate that. Thank you, Carol.
Chair. Hello.
I'm sorry, Cynthia. Go ahead, Cynthia.
I'm sorry, I've had my hand raised for quite some time. As serving on a transit board for about 10 years and seeing all the changes that have taken place and the transition going to the possibility of free fares, and even my own agency doing that, having sales for half off sales for a portion of time. The increments of ridership that have grown are very tiny. So I totally support the idea in theory that the presenter has made, but I think there's a big elephant in the room when you get all transit people together, is that no matter how convenient, you make transit, whether, going digital and being able to go to a local coffee shop and having a digital wallet. When it comes to transit, we have to make public transit feel safe for the rider. And unless we do that, I think one of the comments was, in my city, I can ride for free, but I'm not going to do that. Well, that question is, why aren't you going to do that? And more than 90% of the people that we survey say is, I don't feel safe on public safety. So I think there is, the idea is great, but I think regionally, we all need to come together and work on how do we make public transit more safe. Thank you.
I agree with you. I think there was a fascinating tweet from Transport for London a couple of days ago. So Transport for London went open payments 10 years ago. Starting 10 years ago, you could pay in London just using your debit or credit card. The tweet that they put out shows a bus driver in his own booth, safe. And the transit customer is just tapping separately, right? So in that instance, you have a benefit to the transit operator because they're no longer in the cash collection business, which causes an awful lot of conflict and safety issues at the moment. And as long as everybody knows that customers waiting at a transit stop are carrying cash because they need at least enough cash to pay for the bus, that contributes to a safety concern. So I agree with you. It's a complicated onion to unwrap. There are lots of components of safety. Certainly one of them is people carrying a lot of cash. That's statistically true. But yes, we have a long way to go to make people feel like transit is safe. And the only other thing that I'll say about that is that one way that transit would be safer is if everyone used it. But I'm not going to use transit as long as I'm required to pay an exact change. And I think, it would be better if, I could just pay the way I pay for everything else, right? That would cause me to use transit. So that's a piece of safety as well, I think.
Right. And I think it's a small piece, because not a lot of the public safety problems don't take place for people wanting to rob someone. It takes place, altercations on the bus, and
Right.
It's not necessarily for money. So that is one very small portion of the total picture.
You're right. There's only so much you can do by solving this portion of the digital divide. Transit is complicated.
Thank you.
I agree with you. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Cynthia, this is Marquez. I just want to apologize to you. Your hand was raised. I did look and it did go down. So I do want to apologize to you.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on. Item number 14, information item, Connect Southern California 2024 Draft Transit Rail Approach. This is presented by Mr. Fox. Go ahead, Mr. Fox.
Good morning, Chair. I'm Priscilla Friedrich-Ajimai. I will be doing this presentation with Steve this morning. I'm a senior regional planner in the Mobility Planning and Goods Movement Department. And our presentation today focuses on how we plan to update the transit and rail element of Connect SoCal, which is part of a series of staff updates on various modal or topics specific for the development of Connect SoCal 2024. And Steve and I hope to reinforce how the transit and rail approach is related to the draft Connect SoCal 2024 vision statement, the mobility goal, and why transit is essential, which I believe we heard a lot about already. Before we get into the transit and rail approach, we would also want to share some progress made on implementing Connect SoCal 2020, including an overview of some of the current conditions. So I believe that staff has shared the draft vision and goals for Connect SoCal in summer of last year, but just to refresh our memory, in 2050, we envisioned a healthy, accessible, and connected region for a more resilient and equitable future. And this draft vision statement led us into 4 core simplified goals on mobility, communities, environment, and economy, which is supported by descriptive sub-goals. The development of a transit and rail model approach for Connect SoCal 2024 is directly tied to the draft mobility goal, but also supports the other goals. And overall, we want to build and maintain a robust transportation network, one that is well maintained and operated, resilient, reliable, affordable. Again, just to back what Julian has shared with us this morning, one that's well coordinated, that provides quality travel options and enhances equity for people of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds. Overall, we want to continue to emphasize that transit is essential because we know that it's the most efficient mode in terms of the ability to move a large amount of people within a small amount of physical space. And this continues to be true even with all the advent of the new automobile technologies that we continue to see. And we also know, for example, that California's aggressive agenda for addressing climate change is based in part on many people using transit more and driving less. In Connect SoCal, our vision is transit as a backbone of a multimodal system that enables seamless and efficient travel option without having to own a private vehicle. And it's not even as if owning, fueling, or maintaining a car is inexpensive, which is why we see a heavy transit use in our region is concentrated among those that are low income, foreign born, and do not have access to cars. So we know that it's critical that we continue to provide transit, not just for sustainability goals, but also because it provides a lifeline service. And I believe we saw this clearly during the pandemic. Before we get into the approach, here is a quick review of some of the significant work that has been underway since we adopted the last plan in 2020. And this includes several transit and rail capital improvements and new services, representing large investments in improving mobility, including LA Metro's next generation implementation, the new Crenshaw K line, the Red Line's Arrow service, and several deployments of zero-emission buses across the region, Metrolink's Tier 4 locomotive and biodiesel, and the Southern California Optimized Rail Expansion, also known as core improvements. Connect SoCal 2020 implementation also includes various research studies and projects that continue to reinforce connections to other modes such as active transportation, including the first last mile plans. The key recommendations from these studies and research have been instrumental in shaping the implementation of the transit and rail projects across the region. And staff has and continue to share updates on these studies with the Transportation Committee throughout the duration. And I believe that Philip shared some of the most recent ones, including the MAS and dedicated lanes and many others that we have listed here today. Because we do know that the recommendations from these studies and research guide policy discussions that are meant to advance transit and rail and mobility in general, and will also inform Connect SoCal 2024. However, we did not also want to walk it through the approach without providing some highlights on some of the current conditions, because we know that they are of interest to you. And they also provide a better context for us in framing the transit and rail element for the 2024 RTIP SDS. The SCAG region has a complex transit and rail network, which includes over 100 operators with over 33,000 miles of bus routes, including local bus, express and bus rapid transit or BRT corridors, and Amtrak intercity and long distance services, and Metrolink commuter rail service, which provides 7 lines in 5 counties. Here is a current map of the current transit and rail network for the SCAG region based on our 2016 SCAG data. Just something to mention that we're currently updating all these maps as part of the 2024 plan development to reflect the latest information. We know that transit ridership in the region has been declining. I believe it was mentioned as part of the previous questions. Some of the questions that came to transit ridership has been declining for several years now, even before the COVID-19 pandemic. But we know that it's been worsened again by the challenges that the pandemic brought on the transit agencies and transit operations in general. And while ridership is slowly increasing to the post-pandemic levels, regional bus ridership is still approximately 27% below pre-pandemic levels. This is as of September 2022. Well, we do have some good news, and it's that, for example, in Orange County, they have recovered to only 8% below pre-pandemic levels, which is a good news. And this is, again, according to some of the most recent data we got for the most recent months that we have. And similarly, Metrolink ridership is currently 60% lower than pre-pandemic levels. And for more details on this, we just wanted to reference you back to the ridership update staff report that we included in the agenda packet. Ridership decline is not the only challenge that transit and rail faces. We know that we're still dealing with several other challenges from the COVID-19 pandemic, such as the reduction in fare revenues, the driver shortages, safety and security that continues to be a concern, and cleanliness on our systems, and even many more. But while ridership on the bus ridership has only recovered to about 73%, Metrolink is only about 40%. As I mentioned, we see vehicle miles traveled has more than recovered across the region. I wanted to point out that ridership recovery depends on more than what transit agencies can do themselves. For instance, research from UCLA and UC Davis that we presented to the Next Generation Infrastructure Subcommittee last fall suggests that hybrid work has altered travel behavior in significant ways, which present a challenge for fixed route transit, but also provides an opportunity to reconsider, adapt, and expand transit and shared mobility services to respond to the changing travel needs. At the same time, as important are the transportation and land use policies we have in place, such as the on-price roads, the free and cheap parking, the high minimum parking requirements that reward and encourage driving over other modes. The impact of these is what you see on this VMT chart, which shows VMT has more than recovered much more quickly than transit. And so the key question that we hope to address as part of this transit and rail approach today is how can we continue to provide more transit, not just for the purposes of achieving the greenhouse gas targets, but because it is a lifeline service. And to walk us through the approach today, I want to hand off the presentation to my colleague, Steve Fox. Thank you.
Good morning, committee members. Next slide. Next slide. So our transit rail approach is within the planning guidance and framework of the various federal and state transportation statutes that you see here, such as the Transit Asset Management Final Rule, Public Transportation Safety Plan, the CARB Innovative Clean Transit Electric Bus Rule. We also incorporate various state plans, such as the State Rail Plan that's currently being updated, the County Transportation Commission's long-range plans and short-range plans when those are available, and also transit operators' short-range transportation plans, to name a few. Next slide. And this is a graphic of the metropolitan planning framework and process that we use here. It reflects the bottom-up approach that we get from local transit agencies through the county transportation commissions, including the projects that are submitted to SCAG for the Federal Transportation Improvement Program, the Regional Transportation Plan Sustainable Community Strategy 2024 Connect SoCal, also the transportation conformity and air quality. Next slide. So again, the transit rail vision that we use, again, is the multimodal system. Transit and rail is the backbone. And as Priscilla mentioned, there are many new multimodal strategies that we have, such as complete streets, biking, walking, transit, and regular cars on our streets and arterials, mobility hubs, where you have a whole range of multimodal choices to get places, to get from point A to point B. Mobility as a service and shared mobility. First, last mile connections, biking, walking, active transportation. Transit rail operations and priority strategies, dedicated lanes, transit enhancements, transit signal priority, high quality transit corridors, and then also an emphasis on safety and security. Next slide. Also, the transit and rail vision and strategies include land use, such as transit-oriented development, equity strategies, as we've discussed today, universal basic mobility, mobility wallets, also free and subsidized transit that have been implemented in our region. Resilience strategies such as system preservation, clean vehicle technologies. Next slide. So this coming March, we'll be wrapping up a regional dedicated transit lane study. And actually, as part of the agenda package today, there's a receive and file item describing this study. And next slide, please. And this is a proposed network of various transit priority treatments and corridors, including bus lanes, signal priority, bus bulbs, et cetera, a whole array of transit priority treatments. We do have a project technical advisory committee that included transit agencies, county transportation commissions, and cities that helped inform this study and inform this proposed network. Next slide. And each RTP-SCS has planned performance measures adopted with the plan. These are listed here in 4 main categories: mobility, communities, environment, and economy. And they're both meant to track performance both over the life of 2024 Connect SoCal and also in the short, medium, and long term. Next slide. And then we also have ongoing monitoring measures that we use on a regular basis. And the difference with the same general 4 categories that you see that we had on the last slide. The difference here is that these are reported statistics from different reporting agencies and transit agencies, so on and so forth, that we use. And the previous slide has performance measures that we model as part of the plan as well. Next slide. And this is just a high-level graphic of the overall plan development schedule. And next slide. And with that, we can take any questions.
Thank you, sir, for the presentation. At this time, I have 2 individuals, TC members, Mr. West.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. And I know I'm new to this committee, but I'm going to be a little bit blunt. There's a reason why the ridership is down 27%, and it is for all the reasons that you said. But the bigger one is it's not convenient, and people won't take it, and they will continue not to take it. And I love that that slide that showed how many 48 people could move. We need to stop with the fallacy that we can move people. We can't. A lane of traffic holds 2,200 people an hour at 55 miles an hour. There's nothing that can move that many people until we stop trying to move people and start trying to put more money into getting people to work where they live and live where they work. We're chasing our tails because the rich people will continue to get on, take whatever the mode of transportation that gets them to wherever they need to get to faster. And poor folks will be stuck on buses for an inordinate amount of time that's not equitable or fair, no matter how cheap we make it or how easy we make it. It's not going to work. I've asked many times at the state level about VMT mitigation, that we need to stop thinking of transportation by itself. And I was really happy to see that last slide where you ended with economy and linking the 2 together. We need to link all 3: housing, transportation, and economic development. If you can't get people to work where they live or live where they work, we're never going to do this. The other side of this is that we keep squeezing people. And I think the previous speaker, she said, we have lots of parking and it's easy to drive. The problem is we've been doing frog in the pot now for years. The toll lanes are going up in cost. I think one of the studies I saw that the maximum amount that would actually stimulate people to get out of the toll lanes was about $3 a mile. And we're seeing that in certain places in Riverside County. And you know what it's doing? Nothing. People are still getting in those lanes because they can afford to do it. So it's not dissuading people from driving. The other part of this is the education part. When are we going to tell the public? By the way, we're not going to be improving, we're not going to be adding any more lanes. We're going to make driving expensive, inconvenient, but we're not telling people that. We're telling us, but the public doesn't know that. I've asked that at the state level many, many times. When are we going to level with the public? But we're not. So people are continuing to find ways around it. You know, the toll lanes were supposed to make it expensive for people to go, and they'll go, well, $200 or $300 to take the toll to go to work. Well, businesses are paying for that. So it's taking the financial disincentive out of it completely. So it's not causing people to do anything different. So until we get real about what it takes to get people to live where they work, which is really, you know, VMT mitigation, providing mitigation for you know, cities and areas to hire local and all those things, and going after employees and having them, you know, telling them the truth. And, you know, we're doing that in Corona. We have a new program where we're trying to identify people that are driving and market directly to them, saying, okay, I have 100 transportation engineers that live in Western Riverside County. Is there a transportation engineering company that wants to hire 100 people? Because it's not going to get better. But we're not telling people that. We're continuing with this fallacy that we're going to, you know, there's going to be a bus every 10 minutes. People aren't getting on a bus. They just aren't. The only people are that are poor folks that don't have any other choice. Meanwhile, we're continuing to, you know, the Inland Empire has become the area where we have warehousing. Trucks are still on it. Trains are still, you know, we can't get as many trains. Trucks are still on the road. We're suffering from all the air quality issues and everything else. But until we handle that part, we're not going to make a change. So I appreciate the effort. You know, I like the plan, but there needs to be that economy part needs to be in the front. And until you can fix that, you're not going to change a thing. You know, same with our housing. You know, we talk about how we're going to build housing, and frankly, I think in 9 years we're going to see just as many houses built as would normally be built, and it'll be another big failure, except for we haven't added any transportation, and we're going to continue doing the same thing over and over again and keep talking about these things, but we're not going to, you know, do it. Now we need light rail, we need bus, you know, more bus routes because it's going to get some people off, but we need all of those things, and including making incremental changes to some of our highway pieces until we can get those pieces in. I'd love to have light rail go between, you know, Corona and Temescal, or Corona and San Diego County, but it's not even on a plan. And I have no bus routes. I have nothing that's going to, the people are still getting in their cars. That's not going to change. So like I said, I'd love to see it. Maybe I know it's for a few that further on in the agenda about a future agenda item, but I'd love to see a presentation on where we are in VMT mitigation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaks. Appreciate that. Mrs. Marcia McLean.
Yes, hi. I am also going to be very blunt. I've been on this transportation committee for many, many, many years. And I do use Metrolink, and I do use buses whenever I can, and whenever they can get me to where I need to be when I need to get there. However, that is not reality. And I get really tired of saying ridership is down because of this, this, and this. Ridership is down because there are not enough trains, there are not enough buses, there are not enough routes, and there is no commitment from the state or from the federal government to change that. And until that happens and the dollars are spent to have us have a transportation system like they do in Europe and like they do in London, like they do in Paris. I never had to get into a car when I was in Europe, but I sure do have to here. And unless that changes, we can talk and talk and talk. We've been talking for 20 years, and what has been better? Not a whole lot. So I disagree that VMT is a solution, because people who can afford it are still going to get in their cars. That's not the point. The point is, as the last speaker said, it is not convenient. There are not enough trains. There are not enough buses. And until we start insisting, we're an organization that can start insisting with the state and the federal government to change it, but we don't. And we can sit here and talk and have all the reports in the world. It's not going to change until we decide to get angry and to have them do something about it. And also, I'm not quite sure I saw much talk about the North County you have over 2.5 million people who would love to be able to get on a train and go to work. But you simply don't have the headways, there's no night trains and such. So there, I'll get off my soapbox, but until you all decide to do something about it on this committee, it's not going to change. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your comments. Appreciate that. Mr. Betts?
Yeah, a lot to digest there. I'll be brief. I spent 8 years of my life living in China and using transportation there. And what I know from that experience is that you don't need a car, but the key is the first mile, last mile. If I could get out the front door of my building, walk not too far, get the transportation I need to get down to the train station or wherever it was I'm going, and I knew it was reliable. I mean, I literally went on a train ride down to a computer store in Shanghai, picked up what I needed, and rode the 90 kilometers back to the city where I lived with the computer equipment in tow, because it was that easy. We don't have that here. If you take a train somewhere and you've got to make a trip somewhere, so whatever study that's going on, whatever's working on this, to me, I'd love to see interjected into that a heavy emphasis on how we get first mile and last mile going. We're working on that down here at Sunline with something called Sunride, that is actually getting people from their house to the main transit line and then making it much easier for people to get there. But if they've got a long, long walk from where that last bus stop is to where their home is, people aren't going to use the transportation. So anyhow, I really appreciate all this conversation. It's good. I wish we'd have more time for this type of conversation, lengthy conversations, that we get into this in detail. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Mr. Betts, thank you so much for those comments. I did see Cynthia's hand go up and it came down. Cynthia, would you like to say anything? Supervisor
I'm
Sternquist?
sorry. For some reason, I couldn't put it down, but no, I didn't. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. I believe that's all the comments. So moving on to the chair's report. 2023 Sustainable Awards call for nominations. SCAG is now accepting nominations for the 2023 SCAG Sustainability Awards. Each year, SCAG honors projects and plans that best exemplifies the core principles of sustainability. These subjects or projects are plans integrated to accomplish the goals of Connect SoCal and the Regional Transportation Plan Sustainable Communities Strategies, and they promote a cleaner, healthier, and happier Southern California. Past awards have honored a wide range of projects, including sustainable water management plans, historic district rejuvenation areas, fleet alternative energy policies, and more. Nominations are up to all parties. Applications from projects that span across the agency sectors and geographic areas are welcome to submit a joint entry. Now through Thursday, January 10th, nominations will be accepted for the following award categories: active, healthy and safe communities, clean cities, alternative fuels and infrastructure, equity, green region initiatives, resource conservation and climate action, housing, innovation plans, policy and programs. The winners of the SCAG Sustainability Awards will be presented at the 2023 Regional Conference and General Assembly at the JW Marriott Resort and Spa in Palm Desert on May 4th and 5th. Election reminder: I would like to remind each of you that SCAG is working closely with our sub-region organization COGS to fill vacancies on the regional council and policy committees. If your colleagues or you are interested in serving, please reach out to SCAG or sub-regional staff. That's the end of my report. I'm going to Mr. Brown, Metrolink report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First item is the Paris Valley line. Work started in October 2022 on the Moreno Valley March Field Metrolink station. Improvements include second passenger platform, lengthening the existing platform to accommodate the length of Metrolink's standard 6-car train. The project will upgrade 2.5 miles of track as part of the future main double track corridor south of the station. Work is expected to be completed by spring of 2024. Item 2 is the Burbank Junction. Metrolink started work on the Burbank Junction speed improvements projects late last year. The project is part of phase 1 of the agency's Southern California Optimized Rail Expansion, or SCORE program, and aims to reduce travel time by allowing for increased speeds and more efficient operations. The project located north of the Burbank downtown station will realign and reconfigure and lengthen track, improve and replace approximately 1.5 mile of existing track and install new right-of-way safety fencing. Funding is provided by CalSTA through a Transit Intercity Rail Carpenter Program, or TIRCP, and construction is scheduled to be completed by the summer of 2023. Now for some really good news. The Metrolink Board of Directors unanimously elected San Bernardino County Transportation Authority or Association Representative Highland Mayor Larry McCallum as its next chair at its December 9th meeting. This will be effective, well, it's effective now. Mr. McCallum replaces outgoing Chair Aaron Najarian of Glendale. Also, OCT Representative and Orange County Supervisor Doug Chafee was elected Vice Chair. RCTC Representative and City of Harupa Valley Council Member Brian Berkson was elected second Vice Chair. Last item is old news. It's the Rose Parade and the provision. Well, that is my update on Metrolink. Congratulations, Larry.
Thank you, Mr. Braun. At this time, it's announcements. Would any committee members like to provide announcements? Mr. McKellen? Nothing? Okay. Any hands raised?
Oh, we got one from Councilmember Betts.
Mr. Betts?
Yeah, a quick announcement. Sunline Transit Agency is holding with the California Hydrogen Bus Council, is holding a forum on January 19th at the JW Marriott in Palm Desert. And this is where everybody's getting together to figure out how to make hydrogen work better than it already is. And putting that announcement out there for everybody who would like to attend. And then on January 18th at 10 a.m., there's going to be a showcase of the hydrogen generation project and a tour of Sunline's facilities. So it's welcome to all, everybody's welcome to attend that.
Thank you, Mr. Betts. Okay, at this time, I'd like to adjourn the meeting, but I just want to say thank you for your participation. Also, a lot of good questions, and thank you for your patience. Thank you.